perhaps even the occasional guest, once a week, just to shoot the breeze and maybe joke around a little. I'm Avi Fryer, and this is Rabbis in Quarantine Getting Coffee. Perhaps even the occasional...
All right, welcome to a very exciting episode of Rabbis in Quarantine Getting Coffee. I am very excited, and I'm not wired. That's not caffeine. That's not caffeine you're seeing, because I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee this late at night. I kick back with a seltzer, but tonight, actually, in honor of one of our guests, I'm having some coffee. It's not the usual kind of coffee. Our friend Zach Blaustein, Rabbi Zach Blaustein, lives in Louisville, Kentucky. And so I broke out the coffee moonshine because, as you can see from his background screen there with the bourbon barrels, that's how they roll in Kentucky. So I'm just going to pour myself a little l'chaim here. I'm going to wish a l'chaim to our rabbis, and then I'm going to introduce all of them. L'chaim, gentlemen.
L'chaim.
So, Zach, actually, Rabbi Blaustein gave me some good information tonight. I learned that Buffalo Trace now has a kosher bourbon out. I got in a lot of trouble. We had Buffalo Trace at our Young Israel dinner, and it's me. I bought it, and we got it off the bar as soon as somebody said something, but that was just one of those things that happened, and that's the way it goes. I did not know that it was a Jewish-owned distillery where they do not sell their chametz. However, I digress. I have some very special, auspicious, and dignified guests with me tonight. I already mentioned Rabbi Zach Blaustein, so I'll go to him first. He is the king of Kiruv in the great state of Kentucky, and he's working with all ages, adults and families, you name it. And then we have Rabbi Gavriel Gabi Whitland, who also a Young Israel of Hollywood alum, who is not only teaching, but the assistant principal of the Jewish Day School in Orlando, Florida. Orlando, which is now completely overrun with New Yorkers and New Jerseyites. Have you seen them all over the place?
I don't go around very much, but they're there.
You stay home. You stay home. And then we have Rabbi Eliezer, a.k.a. Morgan Barony, who grew up right here in Hollywood as well, and is not far from the roots right now. You're in Boca, right?
Boca Raton.
Boca Raton. He's publishing, and he's editing, and he's teaching through books, and hoping to also do some stuff live as well. A Yeshiva University Musmach, and it is a pleasure to have you guys here. It makes me feel a little bit old. I'll just say by way of introduction, and then from what I understand, you guys are going to just take over the show, and there's not going to be much for me to say. But I'll tell you, I'm the program director of Young Israel of Hollywood, and that's how this show started in the first place. You guys remember me as the youth director, which I run the youth activities as well, but I also run the adult activities. So I'm a little bit Zach, I'm a little bit Gabi, I'm a little bit Morgan Eliezer, and at the beginning of this year, we had the annual Sisterhood New Members Tea on a Shabbat afternoon, and I was asked to MC it. And I got up, and they gave me a script because they knew that if I didn't have a script, I was probably just going to wing it like I'm doing now and say a bunch of stuff that nobody cares about. But I went off script, go figure. And I started off by asking, please stand up. And this is all adults who are members of our show. It wasn't families with their kids. Please stand up if you were ever if I was ever your youth director, your camp director, or your student activities director at any time. And I got to say, probably around half of the people in the room stood up. And so now here we have three rabbis who at one point I referred to as my kids. Yeah. You were in the youth program when I was youth director. One of you, without mentioning names, but it may come up, one of you was my magic assistant for a certain amount of time. I want to play poker with Zach Blaustein because he did not hold back at all. I was like, one of you, and he goes, yep, me. Tried to let me do something with this hand that I was just raising for no reason whatsoever. But I've been there with all of you. So I want to ask the first question. I'm just going to put it out there. At what point, because the name of this episode, the official name of this episode is Who Knew? At what point did you know that this life that you've chosen for yourself was going to be the life you were going to choose for yourselves? And this is a curveball because we didn't talk about this in our little pre-show meeting. So any one of you can.
Who wants it?
You do.
Gabi, I know you know the answer to this.
I don't have anything special on this.
You don't have anything special? This question was inspired by you, Rabbi Whitland.
I was inspired by me. I don't know why it was inspired by me, but I'm glad to answer the question. I would say that I knew in 7th grade.
In 7th grade?
7th grade. Done.
Okay. Well, what?
That's not a particularly healthy thing, by the way. But it is what it is.
Okay, but no. Tell me more. In 7th grade, what did it?
Well, I don't know. It's not a Hollywood thing, but
you didn't go to school in Hollywood.
At least not, at least not overtly. But I think it was a mix of factors, and I think I had a very influential Rebbe that year. Made a big impact on me, and just I think I felt good in that type of position, and I just saw my future there. Like this is where I want to be. And
Gerald Mayerov wants to know if this has anything to do with Rabbi Fried.
Well, no.
Okay. He posted the question. I just threw it out there.
The truth is, I should give kudos to the person, Rabbi Chaim Mendel, who many people here may know.
He's awesome.
And
to Rabbi Chaim Mendel.
This is the person I want to be like that.
So was there ever anything that you wrote that you put on paper?
Yes, actually.
Yeah?
I like a kid. I wrote an English paper that year, and it was one of these, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was like, it's typical. I actually found it. It's like, it's funny to see. It's like, yes, I want to do this with all the details, teacher, bum. And also like maybe like a basketball player on the side, like things that make absolutely no sense. But yeah, I did.
I don't know that makes no sense. How about you, Morley Ezer?
So a similar, both on the front end and the back end of Whitland. So I don't know too many of these audience members know before her of Weinstock Shlita, before he was the Mardas of Youngers of Hollywood. Rabbi Davis, the Rabbi Emeritus, the Sephardic rabbi.
Chacham Eliyahu.
Chacham Eliyahu. I was taking bar mitzvah lessons with him before my bar mitzvah, and I said to him that I wanted to be a rabbi when I grew up. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I said it.
Did he call you out on it at your bar mitzvah?
No, I don't think so.
Because that's the kind of thing I've seen Rabbi Davis Shlita, as you put it. I've seen Rabbi Davis do. And speaking of bar mitzvahs, just as long as we're talking about bar mitzvahs, I want to share my screen real quick here, because I do have some good stuff to show you.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You guys, you definitely want to see this. There's no question about it. That is Rabbi Gavriel Whitland at his bar mitzvah, and as long as we're talking about bar mitzvahs, I also happen to have Rabbi Zachary Blaustein. I'm gonna blow that up so we can see it. Whoops, I'll see it a little better.
Wow.
And yeah, I accidentally scrolled to this. That if you can identify that face right there in the background, that is little Morgan Barony at Camp Ruach, where the camp director was, I don't know, one of the most talented camp directors I know of. And one more.
That was before you got in trouble, right?
What'd you say?
That was before you got in trouble, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is actually my favorite picture. You guys sent these to me. This is my favorite picture of the guys. And that's Rabbi Blaustein all the way on the left, along with Jordan Lahav and Michael Ben David. Is that right?
That's right. The magician crew.
That's right. That was and playing for Young Israel of Hollywood basketball, which really takes us to what Rabbi Whitland was just saying about,
right.
You wanted to be a Rebbe, you wanted to be a basketball player. Can you bring those together, Rabbi Blaustein?
Can I? Maybe I could have if I continued playing basketball, but didn't really happen. But I had a similar experience growing up in day school. I went to actually Maimonides, and Rabbi Yachlis was very influential in my family's life and my life. And I don't think I knew the concept of being a rabbi until like later on. But I think probably when I was closer to 20 is when it hit me like, hey, this is something that I would want to do and I could do. And that's kind of when I set on my mind to do.
Oh yeah,
Right.
were you going pulpit, or were you going?
What?
I went to the other Morgan Eliezer. Were you going pulpit or were you going teacher? What do you think was in your head?
So at the time, it was for sure teacher. And then actually to share your dual job position thing in senior year, for about 2.5, maybe 3 months, I wanted to be a screenwriter. In the span of 10 years, get a degree, write movies that dealt with theological issues from a Torah perspective, and then retire and then teach Torah for the rest of my life. So then after about 3 months, I said, I'll just skip the middle part. So I was teaching in Jersey, and then I went to Yeshiva University, and then now I'm editing and publishing. One of the books here available on Amazon is actually right here in my background.
Don't hurt yourself. You could have one ready to just hold up for the camera.
Yeah, go again.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Midbar, in fact. Chidush on Sefer Midbar, 6-volume series on Moadim as well, available on Amazon.com. And then so moved to Boca a little short while ago and hope to be teaching in the fall. I got married to the Rebbitzin Barony, Julie Women at Boca Raton, Florida.
Was she already a Rebbitzin when you married her? You said you got married to the Rebbitzin.
I did
Some people
not
are.
ask. That is offensive.
No. See, I have heard many a rabbi say, I became a rabbi when I married a Rebbitzin. I think Rabbi Davis has said that.
I think that's the only person I've ever heard say that.
Okay, maybe it wasn't many a rabbi. Maybe I've just heard Rabbi Davis say it many a time.
I want to know, Avi, how full was that moonshine before the show?
Well, this has been my go-to. We do a Friday afternoon Kiddush club at Young Israel online, a virtual Kiddush club. Now that the shul has never officially had a Kiddush club. Obviously, I mean,
Right.
people stay in for davening, which is totally not true if you listen to last week's show. But it was full at the beginning of the Kiddush club before. Like this got sold with the chametz, and it's been around a little while. So
Wait a second. I have a question. So you have a virtual Kiddush club. So Tommy's like, do you also stage a davening at that time? Like, how does it have a Halos Kiddush club if you're not missing something you're supposed to be doing?
okay,
How do you work that out?
it's true.
Is it
That's
like during one of the minyanim? Like, what happens?
no. You see, you raise an excellent point, and this one is actually a sanctioned Kiddush club, so it can't go on while davening is going on. See, it's on the Young Israel website and everything that it's at 5:30. There's no davening happening. There aren't even any shiurim happening at that time. It's all about the alcohol at that point.
I think we have a Bezdin right here. My opinion is you are not Yotzei with such a Kiddush club. You have to do it again on Shabbos.
I'm sure there's somebody davening somewhere in the world at that time.
That's a stretch, Rabbi Blaustein. That's a Kentucky svara. That's
Okay, but it's so funny because Rabbi Blaustein, living in Kentucky, has probably heard the occasional country song. And there is a song called It's 5 o'clock Somewhere, where you justify being in a bar in the middle of the day when you should be at work because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And what Rabbi Blaustein is saying is it's davening somewhere. So the Kiddush club is a valid Kiddush club because somewhere in some time zone, somebody's davening Shachris.
That sounds like a Kiddush on Zman Tefillah developed by like a 14-year-old high school fellow.
I'll drink to Chidushim on Zman Tefillah from 14-year-old high school kids who drink moonshine.
I have to be limits closer.
Okay.
Before I hear Rabbi Blaustein on that one. So I would say once this quarantine happened, helping a lot more at home. They're avoiding helping at home. That's their obligation they're avoiding.
Okay.
But Rabbi Woodland points it out. It's a very good point.
It is 5:30 on an Erev Shabbos. So I just want to, before we move forward, I want to give you some of the comments and shout outs that are on the chat here. Liz Browser says she's loving this. And Javi Paris says Rabbi Whitland is the best Rebbe. Is that one of your students?
Wow.
She's the mother of one of my students.
She is the mother of one of your students. So I'd like to hear from Javi Paris. Is it her son or daughter that is your student?
Son.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Javi Paris's son as to whether he agrees that Rabbi Whitland is the best Rebbe. We hear from somebody who says she made Zach's shidduch. And she also happens to be the mother-in-law of the Rebbitzin of Orlando, Florida there.
You can tell she gets half credit.
Okay, so she says she made the shidduch. She says she made the shidduch, and her son says she only gets half credit. Okay, I'm not getting in the middle. Not getting in the middle.
Don't.
And just so you know that it's not only. Oh, now I realized who it is. Somebody said Rabbi Zach is the GOAT, meaning greatest of all time. She's not calling you a farm animal, but I think it was your sister. Would Just Cone?
Yes.
Would that would be your sister? Okay, yes. So, all right, and Laurie. Oh, Laurie says she will give you half credit. So there's nothing to get in the middle of. All right, So now you're in your roles in your various communities. You're doing your work you're doing. When do memories of Young Israel of Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale pop into your mind? What's happening? What's happening in your life? What's happening in your job when you sit there and you go, oh, wow, this reminds me of something Rabbi Davis said, or this reminds me of some crazy thing that happened in Shul. What? And this is another question I didn't prepare you with because you basically told me, you basically all blew off the whole preparation meeting and said, no, we're going to be fine.
Okay,
so
Rabbi Whitland did that.
Oh, that's true. But I mean,
wait a second, Avi. You clearly turned on your A game because you know it too.
Well, yeah, we're live now. The meeting was much more laid back and I didn't have any alcohol in me. So tell me, when do these things, when do memories of Young Israel of Hollywood pop into your head? And if you need some memory joggers, I can give you a few. Like, Rabbi Zach was about to say something.
Well, I was going to say something that pops in my mind is around when it comes to the laning by Yom Noraim. I hear the laning of my youth. I hear Ira Ginsberg whenever I hear Laney.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't hear the Baal Koreh. I hear Ira Ginsberg.
That's so cool. I hope he's listening. And if not,
100%.
we'll have to. If not, somebody tell him to turn this on and listen to that because that's going to give him such nachas.
A lot of people say that one in particular. I know at least one of my brothers have shared that with me, but I definitely relate to that one. Right? You do have a lot of lanings. You hear over the years. Well, it's interesting.
Some of the people.
Okay.
I often think of some of those quips that Rabbi Davis would like to say from the pulpit, of course, when dealing with difficult situations. I remember frequently when he brought in for Shears, Moshe Feinstein Chuvot a lot, and people would get quite angry at Rabbi Davis, and he would tell them in the 2000s, write the author a letter.
Who, for those of you not aware, you could no longer reach Rav Moshe Feinstein by mail at that point. is what Rabbi Barony's trying to say. Okay, so now here we are in an age of social distancing. You're all in different communities. Rabbi Barony, you're in Boca. They started opening stuff up about a week before we're gonna, and so you see what's going on there. Rabbi Whitland in Orlando, Rabbi Zach in Louisville. And by the way, those of you that are not from the South, any city that ends in Ville, that's pronounced Vul. You could be in Nashville, Louisville. That's how it's pronounced. If you thought I was swallowing it or not pronouncing it correctly, I'm just being the proper Southern gentleman that I am. So what's it like? What are you going through? Tell me about social distancing. It's been a question on a lot of different episodes. Do Jews even know how to social distance? Is it 6 feet? Is it into the 6th foot? Is it 3 feet if you're Yeki or Sephardic? What's the deal? What's it like? Tell me what's going on.
It's been pretty good here. I mean, it's interesting because I'm the only one that really knows anybody who was really affected by it. Here in the Jewish community over here in Louisville, it hasn't really, thank God, people within the community here have not gotten sick. I know a lot of people back in New York who have been affected by it, obviously. But everybody's social distancing, everybody's wearing masks, and every place they're wiping down the carts. So it's been weird. It's been certainly weird being stuck at home, but we've been handling it.
And you're doing Kiruv. So how are you?
Yeah.
What are you doing to reach your people?
Right. So usually it's been complicated because most of what we do, we try to get out there, meet people, talk to people, have events. A lot of it we went virtual. I had a class that's going virtual Wednesday evenings. We did a pre-Shabbos, Karvach Shabbos. Shabbos here starts very late. It's like past 8:30. I don't even remember right now, but it's pretty late. So 7:00, we have a pre-Shabbos, Karvach Shabbos, but it's we're trying to really prepare. When the doors open and hopefully have everything ready to go.
Is there an end in sight on that? Opening soon?
I think, yeah, I'm not as on top of it as I probably should be, but stores are, things are opening. Gatherings of 10 people was last Friday. I think by June, things are supposed to be opening up, but everybody's being cautious. I'm not sure anybody wants to be the first one to really host an event. So we're just feeling the situation out as it goes.
Right. And how about you, Rabbi Barony?
So first of all, the new schedule, the first phase starts tomorrow. So there's some rumblings going around. But if anyone's been to Boca Raton before, specifically this part of Boca, it's a big circle. So it's really a big shtetl that you get to see everyone all the time, everywhere. But when this happened, it became a ghost town. So it's a noticeable difference, noticeable lack of people out and about. But some people are getting out, maintaining distance, being machmir with the full 6 feet. Some masks, some no masks. Some kids playing by themselves, which is sad and also nice. But yeah.
And when you mention masks, Rabbi Whitland, you've made some interesting choices as far as masks go. I believe
the first time. When the mask thing started to hit Orlando, so I was going to Walmart and I'm coming out of my car. I didn't have a mask yet. They're hard to get. Yet, so they don't sell them in Walgreens. They're all sold out. So I'm getting out of the car and I'm looking around. Everyone's wearing a mask. I felt uncomfortable. There's one thing is the mask issue unto itself, but then there's a Chil Hashem aspect. I don't want to be the rabbi be the only guy in the store without the mask. So you got to improvise. You go MacGyver. And I look around and there's a snood lying around in the car. So I went for it. And
a snood.
It up and you went like bandana.
Wait, before you tell us what you did with the snood, just in case there's anyone listening that is not aware of what a snood is. You might have noticed I muted for a second. My wife happens to be nearby. I asked her if she had a snood handy. She could show me.
Let me see if I can get one.
With your wife, right?
Just while you're looking for that. Here we go.
Got a pom-pom. It was your wife's snoods, Rabbi Whitland.
No, not that. Yeah, but that would be like Hannibal style. You can't. You gotta
go get it. Go.
If you take it, this is not a snood, but it's normally worn like this or something. So, but it's malleable. You take it, you do a little. You remember bandanas? You do.
Liz Browser has asked that you show us how the snood works. So I'm going to let you take your time with that.
Can I have some tomatoes? Can I have some tomatoes? It's not a big deal. You just ask how many. I tell you, the funniest thing is no matter what I asked them for, they gave it to me.
Of course.
You would put on the mask.
Of course. A masked man asks you for something, you hand it over. That's basic safety 101.
That's it. Stop, drop, and roll, and give it to the man in the mask. That's it.
Any other interesting? Rabbi Zach, did you?
I'm good. That was good.
Oh, you're good. You got nothing. You got nothing to add.
I know this. Yeah.
I don't know. When we talked earlier, and Rabbi Whitland mentioned the snood, you seem to have been on board with having used the snood as the mask at some point.
No. I had a purple bandana. I don't know. I can't find a snood here.
So
When these kind of things come out, when the second the mask came out, you know people are going to take it and run with it, and you know people are going to have off brands, and there's going to be a fashion statement going on. There's going to be name brands, and that's where the goyim go with it. The goyim go with the name brand business. You got a fancy one, a colorful one. The girls wear this one, a Gucci one. The Jews find a way to outdo each other in regards to like the chashivas and the kashrus of the mask. It's not an N19, it's not F61. You call that social distancing?
so
That's not kosher for me.
there's a sheer of the thickness of the mask, the coverage.
Does it protect me? Does it protect you? In some communities, they're creating, you have the raincoats, the Jewish companies make the Shana coats, they make the mask with a little extra coverage, for the Jewish
a little extra nose room.
You don't want to be, stuck in the store.
Now the coat and the hat covers, those are usually made of plastic. So I'm hoping they're going to invest in fabric for the mask because it could be dangerous.
You can have all purpose. You get the Shana coat, covers your hat or your bekisha, and then you get a little mask wrap around also.
This is
the whole thing in there.
I mean, I hope somebody is listening who can manufacture this and that they are going to give credit to Rabbi Whitland. I just want to look at the comment for a moment here.
Yeah.
Going back to what Rabbi Blaustein, what you said about the Karlbach Shabbos, you got a comment from Rabbi, is it pronounced Snade?
Sure. Yes.
Oh, Rabbi Simcha Snade. He says, Karlbach Shabbos brings us back here in Louisville to the times of the Arizal. Now, I didn't know the Arizal lived in Louisville, but listen, if he lived anywhere, it was probably...
I imagine Louisville. Yeah.
Rabbi Whitland, your mother never heard about the snood. She's happy to hear about it. David Klein loves your choice of colors for the snood. And Liz Browser would like to just point out some halachic clarity that you actually displayed a tichel and not a snood. So if you want to grab a snood later and show us what that actually would have looked like, you're welcome to do so. So Rabbi Zach, any experience with any redneck Jews out there in Kentucky?
Any redneck Jews?
We exist. I like to refer to us as Yidnecks. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. Liz Browser, who's a avid listener, grew up in Savannah. You're there in Louisville. Tell us about it.
I'm not sure what redneck means, so but I would say that Louisville certainly has a wonderful Southern culture. It's very pleasant here. I was coming from New York, which is quite the opposite. So I remember my first time going to the local Kroger here, and I was checking out. And as you do in New York, you say that, hi, how are you? He says, hi, how are you? Just because that's what you say, hi, how are you? But you don't really ever really respect the response. Mm-hmm. So I went to the cashier, like, hi, how are you? This lady, I'm doing great. How are you? And the next thing I know I was in a 5-minute conversation with this lady at Kroger because I asked her how she was. And really, that's probably a normal thing to do, because if you ask somebody how they are, you should probably expect them to respond. So I've been a little more careful, how I ask when I read to a cashier register. It depends on my time, what I have, but it's a wonderful place to be, but friendly place, a beautiful city. So
have you experienced Hebrew with a Southern accent yet?
I have, yes. I have experienced that. There's people talk about kolel, that's the way somebody would pronounce it, kolel, but it's all good.
Oh no, I love it. Not saying anything negative. Growing up in Richmond, the gabbai would stand up in the front of the shul and say, "We will now recite the Ashrei." Oh, yeah. And I'm like, the Ashrei, the Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, and
There's a big thing here with instead of matzah balls, there's matzi balls, matzi balls, matzi balls.
Chicago thing, no?
I don't know. Suki, chali.
That was a Chicago thing.
Listen, you say tomato, I say matzi.
All right, and before I ask the others about any cultural things you may have come across. I need to know what this is talking about here. There's another message in the chat. Pam Shack.
That's from me.
It's from you. I know it's from you because she says that something, and I'm thinking it might be the.
You know what? That doesn't have to be from me. Before I hear what it is.
Oh, no.
Zach.
It's from you.
It's got your name. Your name is in the comment.
It's you.
She says that something, and I assume it had to be the pink thing you had on your face before, reminds her of a Purim costume you once wore.
I have no comment.
No comment.
No comment.
I thought you were going to say I have no clue.
No comment.
So you know exactly what she's talking about. In other words, no clue.
Morgan, wait 1 second. I thought you wanted to talk more about the mission to Boca.
No, I'm muting everybody else. I want to talk to you about the Rabbi Blaustein and Raised L'chaim to Rabbi Whitland's Purim costume, the subject of our next segment.
Purim costumes in the day.
You're the one that didn't want to prep.
All right, Pam, I'm asking you to please give us some more details because Rabbi Whitland is declining to do so. Now, Rabbi Barony, where'd you move to Boca from more recently?
Washington Heights, New York.
Ah, Washington Heights. So were you more on the YU side or the Dominican side?
Past that side. Now there's by the Breuer side.
Oh, the German side.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about the German side.
Which
all right.
Isaiah.
So how's that contrast moving from New York to beautiful Montoya Circle?
A lot more grass in Boca Raton and on the ground.
Oh, that kind.
It's New York, yeah. Beautiful scenery. A little bit. My wife, who was living here beforehand, is here. Wasn't aware of that. Closer to the family, but beautiful scenery, and then also there's a little different median of age community from Washington Heights to Boca. A little bit higher. A little higher.
Okay.
Couple years. Yeah.
Rabbi Brander used to tell, you mentioned the grass. Rabbi Brander used to tell the story when I lived in Boca that when they first moved there, they had been living in an apartment on the Upper West Side, and they moved to Montoya Circle. And one of his kids, I think it was Tuvia Mayer, who is now, I think, Rabbi Brander, looked out the back window at the lawn and asked his father if it would be okay if he goes outside and sits on the carpet, because he'd never seen anything like that before. He just figured that's what it was. Rabbi Whitland, how about Central Florida? What's the Jewish community like there? I thought it was like a desert wilderness, except when people come for winter break. What's the deal?
I look at it more the other way around, but Orlando's a vibrant, growing Torah community. We have a shul, we have a school, we even have a restaurant. Not just a restaurant, we have a good restaurant. All the good stuff in Orlando. Come and visit, and then buy a house.
Well, I've heard that the restaurants there are having problems because of pop-ups that are opening from the New Yorkers that are running away from COVID-19. Is that an issue?
Probably. I'm not in the restaurant business, but
okay.
A lot of that. I to be honest, I've mostly been at home because of COVID-19, but I know that there are a lot of people here, and it doesn't impact me personally directly in my orbit of life on a regular basis. But we get a lot of visitors in shul during the busy seasons. You get to meet a lot of people. I have a lot of guests on Shabbos, people coming for conventions. People get stuck here after a pleasure trip, all kinds of things. We meet a lot of interesting people and make great connections and relationships. So it's an exciting part about living here. But the influx thing, it's not so much in South Orlando where we live. It's primarily in Kissimmee and further out areas where the villas are.
The touristy parts.
Yeah, that's not where we are.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. So I was starting to ask you about memories from when you were in Hollywood. When you look around your shul or your school, your building, wherever you are, David Klein, I'll ask that question to them in a moment. When you look around, do you see people and go like, oh, yeah, because there's one of those in every community. That's Wally Fingerer. He's the guy who gives out all the candy to the little kids, and that's the different roles. Who do you see that you remember from Hollywood who has their roles in the community? What's your Candyman like? Does he have a say thank you sign like Mr. Rubenfeld used to have? Yeah.
No, you don't have that kind of thing in 2020. What do you want my kid to say thank you for? Stay away from my child. The world is a different world.
He deserves that candy.
In my opinion, you do see them, but not enough. Because I feel, I talk about this all the time, that I feel very privileged to have grown up in the type of community that we did, even though I think all upbringings and all communities bring challenges, but I think there were a lot of very impactful and rich aspects to the community. And I feel, I think it's something that we would all share. Very privileged to have grown up in Hollywood in the time that we did also. And we had so many people, such a large, I would say almost support team, but you don't look at it like that. It's some of the people I feel like you don't even have like a very close, deep, meaningful relationship with. You might not even ever have them over for a Shabbos meal, but you see them every week. You get a smile. You see how they help out in shul. They set an example. It's part of the different pieces that build a strong community. And we had so many of those people. So many.
We're pretty unified. We are. It's a nice thing. Do you see it in your communities? You're in small towns, the two of you.
I see it, especially in a community our size. You have a lot more opportunity for that, those type of connections. You definitely see it, and we want to continue to foster it.
Your Uncle Jeff wants to know if you're getting paid for that advertisement you just gave for Young Israel of Hollywood.
They don't need my advertisement. But things like, look at Sunday morning baseball. Sunday morning baseball was absolutely awesome. And this came from someone who was a terrible baseball player. When I think of baseball, I hope my father's on here. Most of my memories have to do with Gabrielle. Don't be afraid of the ball. Gabrielle, put out the glove already. Gabrielle, let's go. For the 160th time. I was terrible with the hand-eye coordination. I love to go with Sunday morning baseball because you had adults that would come and they had no reason to be there unless they had community hours that they had to do for things I didn't know about. They had no reason to be there except to help out the community. Dr. Courtney didn't have kids anymore at my age, but he came to Sunday morning baseball because he was in the men's club and he came to help out. And these were guys that's what builds a community. Those were great experiences. They teach you how to choke up the bat and not laugh at the other kid. And hopefully, if you behave really well, they get your Slurpees afterwards. That's what everything's all about is Slurpees. It's
all about the Slurpee.
It doesn't end with a Slurpee. You gotta have a Slurpee. That's the end of the story.
What do they do?
Bottom line.
I mean, I guess I have to ask Rabbi Zach. They give the kids bourbon after a baseball game in Louisville?
They would. No, no, they don't. But it's a lot smaller of a community, even from Hollywood, what we have here in Louisville. So, but maybe one day, when we have the baseball team, we'll give them bourbon.
So
bourbon infused chocolate.
Bourbon infused childhood. That's beautiful.
Chocolate.
Oh, chocolate. Bourbon infused. That sounds pretty good, actually.
There we go. Yeah.
I may have to make a trip. So, Rabbi Barony, when you look around, who do you see from Hollywood that brings back a memory? Not the actual, but you see somebody and say, "Oh yeah, that guy, he acts just like so and so."
So it's easy to give at least a handful of guys who look exactly like and act exactly like some members because they moved from Hollywood to Boca.
Oh, yeah. Well,
beyond that, we thank God we have a large united congregation with both an Ashkenazi Kehillah and a Sephardi Kehillah. And if you ever been to Sephardi Kehillah, at least here, they carry on the tradition of delivering out the candy. They don't care about the dangers of 2020.
Or whether anybody says thank you.
No, there's a lot of yelling. You sometimes miss some of the words in between, but
I hear.
Yeah.
So I missed some of the comments. They kind of zoomed by, but Michael Ben David's mom, Carol, she saw that picture that Zach gave me, that Rabbi Blaustein gave me to post, and she was very happy to see that, and it brought back nice memories for her. And Donnie Davis, he says he brought up what you said about writing a letter to Rav Moshe Feinstein. And Donnie says that there were also times when Rabbi Davis would encourage you to write letters to Rashi, to the Rambam, Rabbi Akiva, and various other Rabbanim of previous centuries and millennia. Whoever it was you had a problem with, that was, it seems, was a go-to answer there. Just write a letter to the rabbi that you disagree with. And Donnie also points out that that Rabbi Whitland did indeed get paid for plugging Young Israel of Hollywood. He got a wife in the deal. That's what it says. That's what it says. And Uncle Jeff said, so he seems to be okay with that answer.
Okay.
But Tamar Davis Galper responds to that, yes, but not his favorite daughter. Gabi didn't get his favorite daughter, because obviously Tamar is insinuating that that Tamar is the favorite daughter. So that's the comments we have. So what do you have to say to your people in Hollywood? We're almost coming to the end of the show. What message do you send back to the home front?
It's growing by leap and bounds, Hollywood, Florida. You have a double dip. You have people coming back to Hollywood, and then you have new people coming in. So even though you're getting large, quite large, maybe try to stay small in other aspects as well.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, here in Louisville, like it's the shul I'm in right now is very, very small. And when referencing what Rabbi Whitland talked about growing up in Young Israel of Hollywood, where there was, as a teen, from the teen minion, the basketball league, there's a lot that I got as a youth within the shul walls through civic people or through the general sviva, the atmosphere of the shul, of going to the team minion and having that opportunity to learn and be in part of something. It's a shul is an amazing opportunity for a young kid to grow and to be an individual within the confines of the shul and the community. So keep that up.
All right. And Gabi, Rabbi?
A lot of similar thoughts. I think it's a real challenge that Rabbi Weinstock has. I think he manages very deftly, but it's like being 50 shuls. Like we went to one shul and now you have 50 of them on this campus. And you have to manage this monstrosity and making a meaningful experience for everyone. And I feel very strongly for myself. We were talking about rabbinics and what inspired us. On one hand, it was from outside of Hollywood experiences, but I never would have been ready for those experiences if without the Hollywood piece of getting involved in shul, feeling part of things, being able to contribute and really like hooking into what was going on there. And that's such a challenging thing to do in the modern environment, in the modern climate, and the way things are set up. So it's a real challenge, and I continue to wish them atzlacha. They're doing a great job and trying to foster that.
Well, I think that what the Hollywood community has to say back to the three of you is best summed up by Liz Browser, who, channeling her Southern belle, says, "We're so proud of all y'all." So I think it's true.
I should point out for you, Avi. I mean, growing up in the shul, like what I do right now, obviously a lot of what I bring when it comes to my outreach is a certain amount of energy that I kind of put out there, what I do. And certainly a lot of what I kind of channel as a little bit of my experience in the shul around, let's say, what you have done in the shul in my youth was a major role when it comes to the Simchas Torah. A lot of that is in either my subconscious and something I'm able to tap back into. And there's a certain time where I was coming back for Simchas Torah, and there was a certain shift in real time of how Simchas Torah was going to be done in shul. And you were a major catalyst in kind of empowering us together to kind of break the back door walls and kind of allowing us to it was almost like a training session, of like
passing of the baton.
I love how you take my laziness that I didn't want to get up and pull those kids into the circle and dance. And I had these young guys.
You still got on the table. You still got
with
on the table.
ruach in them. I don't get on the table anymore.
No?
Mm. I am
Why not?
fitty. I am done dancing on the table.
Oh,
But,
my message to Young Years of Hollywood is to get Avi Fryer back on the table.
Okay, so that's your new message back to Young Israel of Hollywood.
Everything I said, forget about it. The new message
Okay.
is Simchas Torah, Avi Fryer on the table.
And my goal is to make sure that we have enough episodes of Rabbis in Quarantine Getting Coffee between now and Simchas Torah that nobody will remember what you just said, Rabbi Zach Blaustein. Everyone, thank you so much. I just want to see if there are any comments I missed. You know, Tamar, Rabbi Whitland, your sister-in-law, she says that there's no community like Hollywood, but then she qualified a little bit. She said with swimming pools, because I guess she doesn't want people in her own community to get mad. But it's true. I love it here. We love it here. We'd love to have you all back here. And I don't want to take you away from the important stuff you're doing in all your communities, but whenever you're ready, we'd love to have you. And everyone, thanks for watching tonight. Or for the many of you that will watch this in its recorded state down the road, thanks for watching whenever you watch. We love having you with us every week. And join us next week. I don't even know who we're going to have, but join us next week for another fantastic episode of Rabbis in Quarantine Getting Coffee.
Bourbon.
Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.